So Amanda, thank you very much for coming to New Zealand. We
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here, thank you.
So you're over here for Armageddon. You've just been over to Melbourne for Armageddon over there. What does Armageddon mean to you, and what does it mean for the fans meeting you?
I didn't remember what Armageddon was like because it had been about a decade since I've done one, but it's a great way to connect with fans. It's a great way to go out and see what your fan base looks like, what the demographic, we talked about the demographic, what the demographic of the fan base is, to be able to say thank you face to face to people, to look people in the eye, and do you know what I mean? It's a great way to connect, and I didn't do a lot of conventions for a while, and I'm starting to do some again because I realize the value in just being able to say hello face to face, and thanks for watching the show, and thanks for your support. And
we talked earlier on about that demographic has moved, and it's become, there's quite a lot of females now watching it. It's become moved away from the geekly, pimply guy to it's quite a high female base.
Yeah.
And are you seeing that when you go out?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm seeing everything from, women in their 70s to 7-year-old girls, and everything in between. A whole new generation of kids who are now watching Stargate and Sanctuary, it's a massive demographic, and I kind of, I would love for network executives to come to these kind of events and just see what the fan base really looks like,
because that's
opposed to what they think the fan base looks like.
So Sanctuary,
yeah,
it's amazing amount of green screen that you guys do. I was looking online, and the sets are literally a couch and a bookshelf, and then everything's brought through. Is that hard to work with?
You know what? Actually, I love it. Initially, the hardest part was sort of getting used to the scope of what the room was. How big the Sanctuary library is, or where the walls were, because we often ran through walls or fell out of windows without realizing it. But you have just crashed to the courtyard. Really? What? But now that we're used to that, I kind of enjoy the intimacy of it. There's nothing to distract you. So it really just becomes about the scene and your fellow actor, and there's a real connection, and it's about the words, and you literally can't chew on the scenery because there isn't any. So it becomes a really interesting, intimate way of filming, surprisingly.
And when Sanctuary started, it started off as a web sort of social media, people download it, and that was kind of really different out there. How did you guys come up with the idea?
I didn't initially. I was sort of asked to come on board with Sanctuary, and there was sort of a group that had said, what if we had a full-service website with a great product, a great show, merchandising, social networking, gaming aspects, like a multi-platform? Because people were seeing that the paradigm was shifting from television to the internet, and I mean, that had been happening for a while. And so we had very lofty, naive ambitions of how that would work, and then quickly ran out of money because people downloaded. I mean, and bless the people that paid, thank you so much. But there, for every person who paid, there was like 10 who didn't. So we ran out of money very quickly. And so I honestly think we were probably about 6 years ahead of our time in terms of how to monetize on the internet. But what it did was it gave us this great calling card, So, and because it was so successful and so many eyeballs viewed it, networks came to us and said, hey, we're interested. How do you feel about making this into a TV show? And so Sci-fi came to us, broadcaster in the UK, our Canadian network came, and we got feelers out around the world and went, oh, okay. I'm very comfortable on television, and especially in sci-fi, so I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Because it's in over 108 countries?
170 now, I think.
Wow.
I didn't even know there were 170 countries. But yes, I mean, we're in Afghanistan, for goodness sake.
Oh, good. So, and you guys are independent of the networks too, which gives you a little bit more creative freedom. Is that true?
We are. We have no studio backing us. We're an acquisition for networks around the world. So we are, I think, I don't know how many independent television series there are out there, but I imagine not many. So it's an interesting way to do it. We have a private financer, the BD Group, and they are a real estate development and construction company in Vancouver. Yeah, and it was a very interesting hookup. The president of the company is a fan of sci-fi, and I had met him through his son, who went to the same gym, and then we were looking for financing. I said, well, what about the BD Group? Maybe they'd be interested in pitching in, and bless them, they did. I mean, they took a massive leap of faith and supported the web series, and now they own the show. I mean, so they, every year, even if we get a pickup from the network, we still have to go through the negotiation process with the BD Group, and say, please do it again, give us a lot of money. We promise you'll make your money back one day. But they've been fantastic, and so 4 seasons in.
And is there a season 5 coming? We hope.
We hope. We don't know. The network hasn't. We get the first call from the network, which is Sci-fi and CTV, which is our Canadian network, and then from there we hope that the BD group. So there's a few layers.
Yeah.
It's not like, yay, Sanctuary's been picked up. Then we have a good month or so of negotiation to try to get the money to make the show.
So before Sanctuary, obviously Sam Carter and Stargate.
Yeah.
When you got the call up to go into Stargate, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think this was going to be a 1-season event, or did you ambitious this 10-year genre?
I had no idea. I knew going in my contract was for the pilot, and then assuming that they kept my character on beyond the pilot, I had a 2-year contract. So I knew that 44 episodes were guaranteed off the hop, so which is very unusual. And then I think it was partway through season 1 or even 2 where we found out there was going to be a 3rd season. And I mean, we knew we had 5 seasons before we'd finished our 3rd season. We knew we were going to go for 5. And then every year after that just sort of felt like a gift. And when we got to 7 years, we went, okay, well, that's it. That's traditional sci-fi, 7 years. Okay, that's, and then it just kept going. And then in season 10, when we found out that we'd been canceled, it was so shocking. We were like, what? It's not supposed to ever end. we kind of got used to being here. I mean, it made sense, but it was very funny. It was quite a shock. Rob Cooper called us up individually into his office and said, just so you know, this is going to be the last season. It's like,
and obviously out of that became Atlantis and Universe, the spin-offs and everything else.
Yeah.
And is there any other spin-offs that you think would be good to take on besides?
You know what I would love to see, to be perfectly honest, and I know that Brad Wright had tried to make this happen, was a movie where you get all the different series together and you wrap it up in a nice bow. I mean, certainly this show could be franchised again and again and again and again and again. But for the purposes of closing out SG-1 and Atlantis and Universe, it would be so great to do a movie that kind of ties them all together.
Yeah.
You go. As a gift to the fans, thank you.
3-hour in 3D, Peter Jackson directing it. It would be fantastic.
Exactly. Huh?
What more would you want? You come live in New Zealand, work with Weta, it'd be great.
Perfect.
And do you catch up, do you still keep in contact with the cast from Stargate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. Michael Shanks and I, our kids go to the same school, and they're in Taekwondo classes together. And yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
And when I
mean, even here, just seeing Elena again. And
oh yeah, of course, from Universe, yeah.
I mean, and it's interesting because there's a sci-fi family that's very sort of, we're all in the same genre. We see each other at events. We see each other at press conferences, at Comic-Con. There's a nice sort of familial sense about people in this genre. And then it's sort of an extra close element of people who have done the Stargate franchise. We're all buds, and it's really nice.
And you mentioned Comic-Con. I think it's about 160 or 180,000 people going. Does that freak you out?
Yeah. It's crazy. I remember when I first went to Comic-Con, I could go onto the floor and walk around, and the odd person would come up and ask for an autograph, and now you can't even get onto the floor, not because I'm super famous or anything, but because it's so packed. And now we can't, everywhere you go, people are like.
And do you see anyone dressed as Sam Carter? Has there been any sort of those weird, that's me dressed, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, people have cut their hair like Sam Carter, dressed like Sam Carter. There's a fabulous fan in England, Claire, who lost a lot of weight, and so she could buy the old costumes, and her goal was to be able to fit into the old costumes, and she did it. She's fantastic. But yeah, I see people dressed like Sam all the time, and I see people dressed now as Helen Magnus, which is great.
Is that weird?
A little. I mean, I remember people saying, "What products do you use in your hair, and who cut your hair, and how do I make my hair go like that?" And, it is a little weird, but I just also think it's really sweet. There's something so genuine about fandom that gets me quite emotional, because I just think the fact that people spend the time and they're so passionate about it, and sci-fi fans, if I can go off on a little tangent, are the most socially connected, socially aware, generous group of people that I've ever had the pleasure to know. And so I just find them fascinating and lovely. Every time and somebody comes up dressed like me, I'm like, fantastic. Wow, it's great.
Now, you do a lot of non-for-profit work, and obviously New Zealand, we've had a few natural disasters recently. Sanctuary for Kids, can you just sort of tell listeners and viewers what that involves and what it's for?
Sanctuary for Kids was a foundation that I started with Damien Kindler, who created Sanctuary, and Jill Bodie. And we decided that, because of what I've just said, sci-fi fandom being so socially connected, socially aware, I do a lot of fundraising for different organizations, and I couldn't believe how, if I said, hey, follow the Waterkeeper Alliance, how many fans followed and would take up a cause. So I said, what if we, we all sort of started talking, and we're in such privileged positions, so what if we started a foundation, raised money for the smaller charities around the world, and the bigger charities were being obliterated in the global financial crisis, but the smaller ones, gone. And where $5,000 makes a huge difference, or $10,000, or we had no idea how well it would take off. And we've raised $250,000 in less than 2 years.
Wow.
And that's through online auctions, a couple of fundraisers that we do. Like I do one in England every year through Gabbett Events, and a fundraiser we did in Vancouver. And just the sci-fi fans who, I'm going to jump out of a plane, who wants to sponsor me? The money goes to Sanctuary for Kids. Our script supervisor put together a children's book about a day in the life of Sanctuary. I mean, it's fantastic how many people have gathered on board. And so what we do is we work in Vancouver with homeless teens. We work in Nepal. We have an orphanage that we support, and 2 groups dealing with trafficked women and children. And then Haiti, we've started to get really involved in. And the interesting thing about Haiti, and I know that you guys have gone through massive earthquakes, and trying to rebound from the trauma of that, just the emotional trauma, let alone the physical rebuilding, is something that people don't really think about. So, I mean, in Haiti, 5% of the rubble has been cleared, and it's that much later, because people have moved on to the next natural disaster. And then there was Japan, and then there's New Zealand, and then there's this, and people have forgotten about Haiti. They're sick of hearing about it. But Haitians are living in rubble. And if there's another major quake, it comes down. There's all the money that was promised, some of it has arrived, but it hasn't been distributed. So the Haitian people are really disenfranchised, and NGOs start up, every week and then close down. So we're dealing with a couple of groups, and one is actually Phoenix Vision Society. They're hoping to build adobe houses with a new technology that's earthquake proof. But also what it does is it gets the community involved, the men in the community who now don't have jobs. There's a lot of anger about that. They're building their homes. Now they're building community centers. So that's the goal, is to get the community getting themselves back on their feet and a sense of pride again. But they're also doing trauma counseling, where they're really dealing with the deep emotional pain that happens. And you and I were talking earlier about the children that have lost their parents here in New Zealand, and I mean, it's huge. It's huge. But so Sanctuary for Kids is just on a very, very small scale, putting money into these things, helping build adobe houses, helping feed, a community in Haiti. We helped build medical outposts. So it's just, that's what we're doing. It's small. And with the Nepal Orphans Home, we upgraded their food, so they've got a better quality of rice, meat twice a week instead of once a month, better fruit and vegetables, and more of them. And their pharmacy bill dropped 70% this winter through flu season. So it's little things. As I said, small drops make, a small pebble in the water makes huge ripples, and they emanate.
So how can Kiwis help out? I mean, obviously you've got a lot of sci-fi fans in here in New Zealand.
We do.
What can we do to help out?
I mean, check out our website, sanctuaryforkids.org. And there's ways to donate there. It's also kind of fun because it's community building. Yeah. It's like people do car washes, and schools are doing little events for us. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways to help, but thank you for asking. So.
Now we've got to wrap this up. If people want to follow you on Twitter or Facebook or see you online, what are your social handles?
My Twitter handle is @AmandaTapping. It's very original. I'm not on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook. There are people who are pretending to be me on Facebook, and I only hope that they're doing a good job, but I'm not on Facebook. And I do have a website which is currently being revamped, but that's amandatapping.com.
Cool. Thank you so much for the time, and enjoy New Zealand.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.